Good afternoon, everyone. Corruption is present in almost every segment of our lives. And I'm sure that each and every one of you have encountered some form of corruption, or at least you know someone who has. However, we are not reinventing a wheel by saying all this. We are actually trying to address this issue. This group tried to address corruption as an issue through enhancement of anti-corruption mechanisms and raising public awareness. Please, next slide. Please, next slide. So, corruption as an issue in Bosnia and Herzegovina has been recognized externally and internally. So if you take into account the progress report for Bosnia and Herzegovina for the year 2020, you will see one point where it is stated that Bosnia and Herzegovina, in terms of fight against corruption, is at an early stage or has some level of progress in that regard. In addition to that, when I say internally, there is an international organization called Transparency International, which has this famous corruption perception index. And they actually measure the corruption, how the citizens of that particular country can see corruption in that particular country. So out of 180 countries and territories, they use the scale of 0 to 100, where 0 is the highest level of corruption, and 100 is the index stating that there is like clean situation, no corruption at all. So regarding this index, Bosnia and Herzegovina has the score of 35, quite high on that scale, which earns the country a rank of 111th place out of 180 countries. In order to, let's say, have corruption, we do need some prerequisites, and they are mentioned, some of them are just mentioned on this slide. Those are lack of transparency in public procurement procedures, lack of accountability, also misuse of public office for personal gain, and definitely weaknesses in judiciary and poor protection of whistleblowers. In terms of legal framework, Bosnia and Herzegovina has signed almost every document, convention, protocol, whatever necessary, requiring fight against corruption. However, what we are lacking in this country is the implementation or the enforcement of those documents. So I would just like to bring your focus on the Stabilization and Association Agreement, which was signed in 2008, according to which now 12 or 13 years after signing, Bosnia and Herzegovina still remains a potential candidate country. So if we go back to these 14 priorities that have been mentioned on several occasions today, anti-corruption reform is one of the key priorities for progress. So as you can see on top of this slide, no progress, no candidate status. One more thing just to corroborate this is basically the fact that anti-corruption strategy, which should cover the period 2020-2024, has not yet been adopted. And in terms of, bring back the slide, please. In terms of the areas where I said that corruption is present in almost every segment of our lives, we carried out a research which showed where corruption is most present. So political parties, judiciary, customs, parliament, police, healthcare, just name it. So my colleagues will tell you more about it. Thank you.
I will now present you interesting parties or stakeholders that are fight against corruption. Main target for our policy paper is APIC, Agency for Prevention of Corruption and Coordination of the Fight Against Corruption. It is responsible directly to the Parliamentary Assembly and its head institution in fight against corruption. We also have a organization that like State Investigation and Protection Agency, SIPA, Transparency International, Council of Europe, a group of states against corruption, Greco, Organization for Security and Cooperation Europe, OSCE, that are institutional. But we also find that more interesting are non-political, non-social, and most important objective groups like media, civil society, NGOs, and whistleblowers. Next slide, please. During our research we found how already implemented instruments are lost their purpose, like anonymity with complainant boxes. Complainant boxes are in most places put on places like police stations and covered by security cameras. So therefore, any potential whistleblowers will lose his anonymity, and so reporting corruption in this case was equal to zero. We also find how corruption can cause many deaths. Famous of those old cases are in Turkey in 1999, where construction business contractors admitted that they are mixed CNC with concrete that after earthquake in 1999 causes a collapsing of those buildings and causes many of deaths. But we will not focus our policy paper on bad examples. We are here to present you good examples. One that we found best is we found in Albania. In 2050, Albania have one project that was based on SMS reporting in healthcare. That was the result on 33,500,000 of reports of any illegal activities in healthcare. Next year, in 2060, Albania also got judicial vetting that was recommended by Venice Commission, and they reform constitution, and after that prosecuted and fired all corrupted judges that were in 2 months find out who are they. More than 40% judiciary officials in that year was fired. Thank you.
So we found existing mechanisms are not sufficiently used. So Bosnia and Herzegovina adopted numerous of regulations, but implementation is not so good. Also, we found out that there is a low level of public awareness in society about corruption. And the last, and we think the biggest problem in our society is judiciary. Expert of European Commission, Pribe, said for Bosnian judiciary, I will read it in his report. He said, in order to restore citizens' trust in judiciary, judicial institutions should establish a rigorous and credible system of checking the property records of judicial office holders, which will be submitted and processed annually and published regularly. As my colleague said, they have done that in Albania, and they are very successful. I'm sorry. Also, in this chart, we can see the number of convictions for corruption in court of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and in 2020, only 12 convictions. Please, next slide. What to do? We recommend new anti-corruption measures focused to prevention, more transparency in budgetary allocations and public procurement, awareness raising through good examples. So we have good examples in our region, and in our opinion, we need to use it in Bosnia and Herzegovina as well. Give more importance to NGOs and better protection of whistleblowers.
Okay, you just heard three colleagues of mine who gave you precise details what the anti-corruption in Bosnia and Herzegovina is and how it affected everything, everybody, every step, every level of our lives. We did what we did, but it's not only recognizing a problem, it's how to solve it. So, through our past analysis, we try to see what this goes against why. So, you know what the past is, so it's like political, economical, social, and technological. Originally in our case, it looked more like step than a past, but we will go as the analysis require. A political will, one of the hardest thing that we could all together reach. But to reach the political will, we had to do first and all interest and involvement of the civil society, NGOs, and media. I'm saying why? Because that's voice of the people. Because that's something that we should push, that we should boosted through positive examples. So far in Bosnia and Herzegovina, fight against corruption was pretty much shown in every media, in every written or saying on visual media or electronic medias was shown on a negative way. We are trying, actually, you will see on the next slide, that we will try to present positive examples in a fight against corruption. Because we strongly believe that it will wake up so far to sleepy society. That's something that we try to do. So, of course, to build public awareness, we need technological solutions and supports. Because right now we have a lack of digitalization in the public administrations, which cause direct problems. We are all familiar with the term in Bosnia and Herzegovina that goes, you need one more paper. So on your faces, I see, it's recognizable to every one of you. So it's something that happens to all of us all the time. It's time to stop it. And the way to stop it is technological, solutions and the support to solve it. Finally, it's easy. We're living in an electronic ages. One click, one scan of the card, and all data should be on one place and leaves zero place to what? To corruption. Funds and implementations of planned activities are also, something that you cannot avoid. So how to solve it? How it's to be done? What we think through our research in the past year, you will see how many major points we try to pull out. But because right now you'll see on the display like 8 of them, but I will just present to you the ones that we find are more important. Implementing Albanian modified approach. You just heard the positive example from Albania. It helped Albanian society a lot. It helped them to solve 60% of their corruption problems which they had, especially in the judiciary system. So if we implemented, of course, we had to modify it, considering that Bosnia and Herzegovina is completely politically and economically, geographically, in any other way, much more different than Albania. When you modified it, maybe we could apply it. Of course, through ensuring the full transparency in recruitment. You know that recruitment is a cancer of our society. It's actually got infected by cancer known as corruption. So if we ensure the full transparency in recruitment, as we mentioned earlier before in Zenica Doboj Canton, that's something that could and should lower a level of corruption. Involve the media and non-governmental organizations through the constant campaigns brings me back to the past slide, which said the positive way. Try to spread a positive spirit, you know, especially through the improving the law of protection of the whistleblowers. We could help to save many cases, and through positive ways to show that the truth is and justice are reachable. And I would like to show you last slide. I'll be really short. The future depends on what you do today. The bold guy has a right. Please remember it. Thank you.